Have you ever noticed how the simple act of settling in for the night can ease your mind and body? Tonight, I invite you to let go of every to-do list and slip into a softer state of being with nothing expected of you except to listen. According to a 2022 Sleep Foundation survey, establishing nightly rituals like listening to calming stories can improve sleep onset by up to 40%. That's a remarkable impact for something so gentle and accessible. Consider Maya, who began ending her days with a quiet story instead of scrolling her phone. Within weeks, she found herself falling asleep more peacefully and waking more refreshed, a small change that transformed her evenings. Some might say, isn't this just a placebo dose ritual really matter? While skepticism is natural, neuroscience shows these consistent habits create cues for relaxation, making the shift from wakefulness to rest much smoother. So tonight, as we begin our journey, let yourself embrace this pause. You may discover that these soft transitions can become an anchor for your well-being night after night. What if a humble teapot could hold not just tea, but also memory and meaning? In the 15th century Chinese village of Yixing, this notion took shape in the form of xisha clay teapots, a tradition still revered today. Recent museum records show that the earliest Yixing teapots, made from purple xisha clay, were prized for their ability to retain heat and absorb the flavors of tea over time, making each brew subtly unique. Picture a tea master whose unwashed pot, seasoned for decades, brews oolong with a depth no new vessel could match. The pot becomes a companion known that remembers every cup, turning tea into a ritual of belonging. Skeptics might argue, why not use modern, easy-to-clean pots? But aficionados insist that only the porous, unglazed Yixing clay creates the layered, nuanced flavors cherished in Gongfu Ceremonie's sensory tradition that endures for good reason. So next time you sip tea, consider how your vessel shapes the experience. Honoring the past through simple tools, we find new ways to slow down and savor the present. How did teapots become so diverse across continents? The answer lies along the ancient Silk Road, where ideas and objects flowed as freely as the tea they carried. Historical trade records reveal that by the 16th century, caravans were transporting porcelain, copper, and brass teapots alongside tea bricks, enabling cultural cross-pollination from China to Persia, Turkey, and beyond. Imagine a traveler pausing in an Isfahan courtyard, warming hands around a brass teapot on glowing coal-sharing black tea, and stories with strangers, creating community at every stop. Of course, some might suggest that such exchanges dilute local traditions, making tea ceremonies less authentic. Yet, history shows the opposite. As teapots adapted, they enriched and personalized the rituals of each culture, adding layers of meaning. Perhaps as you next share tea, you'll recognize its journey, how every spout and handle reflects centuries of adaptation and connection, making each cup a bridge between worlds. Have you ever wondered why teapots became centerpieces in both stately English parlors and tranquil Japanese tea rooms? The answer reveals how these objects transcend mere function. A 2019 Victoria Albert Museum report notes that English teapot design exploded in the 18th and 19th centuries, resulting in thousands of distinct shapes from bone china to whimsical cottages, while in Japan, the cast iron tessobine evolved into a symbol of craftsmanship. Consider the Georgian drawing room, rain at the window, a porcelain pot steaming beside scones, or in Japan, a tatami matted space where a tetsubin hums over charcoal, showing how teapots fostered connection and contemplation across cultures. Some might argue a pot is just a vessel, does its form really matter? But evidence suggests design influences ritual. Ornate or simple, each teapot shapes the mood, pace, and meaning of sharing tea. So, as you pour your next cup, whether in solitude or among friends, notice how your chosen teapot sets the scene. These humble vessels, in their artistry and history, invite us to savor both flavor and presence. How did a simple teapot become a silent witness to America's revolution and resilience? Let's trace its surprising journey through early American history. Historical records show that after the Boston Tea Party of 1773, Americans rapidly shifted from imported British teapots to locally crafted pewter and porcelain versions, reflecting a new national identity. Consider the case of the Paul Revere-style pewter teapot, found on farmhouse tables from New England to Virginia. These sturdy vessels became cherished heirlooms, passed down through generations as symbols of endurance and simplicity. Some might argue that teapots were merely utilitarian, not symbolic. But when you see the pride with which families displayed them even as British imports fell out of favorites, clear they meant far more than just function. Looking ahead, the American teapot set a precedent for everyday objects carrying national meaning, reminding us that even humble vessels can reflect broader cultural shifts. What makes tea in India more than just a drink? Why does its aroma drift from bustling city corners to quiet village lanes, uniting millions each day? According to the Tea Board of India, over 837, 0 tons of chai are consumed annually, making India the world's largest tea-drinking nation and turning the battered metal teapot into a symbol of community. Picture a Mumbai chaiwala endlessly refilling his battered teapot over a street burner, expertly pouring spiced tea into clay kulhas as customers gather and stories are shared. This scene repeats across the subcontinent, day after day. Now, some skeptics suggest that street chai is unhygienic or unremarkable. But for millions, the ritual is about more than the drink. It's about connection, routine, and comfort, transcending concerns over formality or luxury. As Indian cities evolve, the humble teapot persists, reminding us how tradition adapts, turning something as ordinary as tea into a daily touchstone of belonging and welcome. Have you ever wondered why tea in Morocco is poured from such a height? Or why it tastes so refreshingly sweet? Let's step into a Moroccan courtyard and find out. UNESCO recognizes Moroccan mint tea as an intangible cultural heritage, highlighting its role in hospitality and social gatherings served from silver teapots, brewed with green tea, fresh mint, and sugar. Imagine a Marrakesh afternoon, guests lounging on cushions as the host prepares tea in a gleaming pot, pouring it in a dramatic arc so the amber stream dances in the Sunnate's gesture, a sign of welcome and artistry. Of course, some say such rituals are outdated or merely for tourists. But for many Moroccans, the teapot and its traditions remain a living, breathing, practicing invitation to slow down and savor connection. As Moroccan tea culture inspires cafes worldwide, it offers a lesson. Sometimes, the way we serve something is as meaningful as what's inside the cup. Can a teapot be more than just a vessel for tea? What happens when artists reinvent its shape and story for a new era? The Victoria and Albert Museum reports a surge in teapot-inspired art objects throughout the 20th century, with designers using everything from ceramics to steel to challenge traditional forms. Consider the case of the 1980s Memphis group Teapots Bold. Whimsical works shaped like animals or abstract sculptures, designed less for pouring tea and more for sparking conversation. Some critics argue that these art teapots lose their purpose, becoming detached from daily life. Yet, their popularity in museums and homes suggests people crave objects that blend imagination with memory reminders of warmth, even if they're never used. In the future, as functional objects blur with artwork, teapots remind us that everyday things can be both practical and inspiring, carrying stories across generations and geographies. What connects a battered chai pot in India, a silver urn in Morocco, and the simple porcelain teapot in your own kitchen? Why does this humble object endure across continents and centuries? Anthropologists note that teapots, regardless of form or region, consistently appear in rituals of hospitality, from American parlors to Moroccan courtyards, echoing a universal human need for warmth and togetherness. Think of the person who, after a long day, finds solace in the gentle steam rising from their favorite cup. From frontier fires to modern museums, teapots have quietly gathered people, memories, and comfort. Admittedly, some may dismiss the teapot as outdated in the age of takeaway coffee and instant drinks. But as long as we crave pause and connection, the teapot's role remains an anchor in our restless world. Tonight, whether you dream of faraway lands or simply savor a quiet moment at home, remember, the teapot endures, inviting us all to rest, to breathe, and to let warmth linger a little longer.